We begin the news in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, presided over the further signing of the Presidential Power Initiative agreement between Nigeria and Germany. The agreement is designed to ultimately add 12,000 megawatts of electricity to the national grid, according to Adebayo, Nigeria's Minister of Power. The agreement was signed at the sidelines of the United Nations Climate Conference, that's COP28, taking place at Expo City in Dubai. The managing director of the federal government of Nigeria Power Company, Kenny Anuge, signed for Nigeria, while Neja Hackinson, the managing director, Africa Simons AG, signed on behalf of Germany. Now, speaking on the agreement, Anuge harped on the achievement or commitment of President Tinubu to the development of power infrastructure, noting that he had reiterated time and again that infrastructure development is critical to the ongoing reforms. Now, to further discuss this, we're joined by Adetayo Adegbemle, and he's the Executive Director, PowerUp Nigeria. Good morning, Adetayo, and thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Good morning to you. Good morning, viewers.
All right, so this is another Simon's deal, no doubt. But, the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari signed a similar deal, but we didn't see it implemented. And now we're seeing this same administration, towing the same path. What makes this different from that of the last administration?
Well, I have not seen any difference yet. I recall very well that in the twilight after the elections, when this administration was declared as winner in the last election, I wrote an article, I published an article saying that the first thing we should do is to review, the Siemens deal. I am also one person that has been very vocal, and from day one, saying that the initial deal that we signed with Siemens was a farce, and I'm still saying it till date. It is wrong for us to heap, all our eggs and put in one basket and give it to somebody that that also have issues working. Siemens initially signed a deal with us because their own economy was going into recession, and they are looking for ways to revamp their industries and to boost their own economy, employment, and all those things. Not because they primarily have the interest of Nigeria at heart. And the implementation of that initial project proved all our agitation and our cautioning. It proved us right. Now, one thing that we have not seen is the review of that last deal. I'm going to say this. The minister himself said that the initial deal was meant to be a $2.3 billion deal, which was supposed to cover a lot of things. But in eventuality, all they eventually done, or what they executed so far, is the region of $60 million out of $2.3 billion. Which is barely even 10% of what we're talking about. That is one. Then two, one of the claims of the minister is that they've imported 10 power transformers and 10 power substations. In truth, on ground, we can only point to only 4 of those. From what the minister said, we were supposed to have 20 transformers and 20, equipment. 10 transformers and 10 power stations. But we only have 4 power transformers that we can point to that were on ground. So where you got that figure, and I think I'm going to say it again, that they are misleading the government and they have not done the proper review that they're supposed to do on the first deal.
Okay, Adetayo.
What is a bit different is that.
Please go ahead.
What makes it different is that, unlike the first deal that we were paying counterpart payment, we are making counterpart payment and everything, and taking loans from Germany. What makes it different is that now we are coming in and offering our gas to Germany. So there is a product there's an actual exchange of product, and that's the only thing that is different. But we are still yet to see the details of the deal as signed. So it's going to be very difficult for us to say whether this is going to be any more different from what we have on ground already.
All right, Adetayo, you talked about, Nigeria having something to give in return for this deal. And earlier you actually talked about 23, that's the previous deal, being worth $23 billion, but only less than 10% being spent. That's $60 million. Now, how significant is this particular deal in finding a lasting solution to the crisis, that's the power crisis, bedeviling Nigeria?
All right, I'm going to say this for stakeholders in the power sector. This deal does not cover the whole power sector. It covers just the transmission end. And if you talk to people in government, they will tell you they are not signing deals for the discos or the gencos, who happens to be private concerns. That the deal is centered at increasing our transmission throughput willing capacity to 12,000 megawatts. That is what this project is supposedly, quote and unquote, tailored after. So the question is, who are they taking these loans on behalf? Is it on behalf of federal government, or is it on behalf of consumers? Which, of course, consumers have to pay for it, because they have to pay for everything once the power goes through. So they have to pay for whatever investment is being made in the sector. I also say this, that I think it is also unfair on behalf of the discos, because now you are going to execute a $2.3 billion project on behalf of transmission, on behalf of government. How does that impact on level of investment for the discos? How does that balance the conversation with the discos? The discos are not able to, or they are not by law, because they are regulated, they are not allowed to make such an unlimited investment in their networks. So how are we going to balance this conversation? Is this going to be a positive for Nigeria at the end of the day? I don't think so. I have been raising that question since 2019, when the first semester was pushed and was pushed through, and that question still remains till today. It is primarily not in the interest of Nigeria.
All right. Now, Adetayo, now aside signing of the deals, and everything you actually said, you'd agree with me that all these can actually be done, but if the power sector still faces, so many challenges, no matter how many deals are being signed, it will not work. So I want you to, talk about this. In light of this particular deal, what other reforms do you suggest that the power sector, should carry out in the power sector in order for these deals and the power sector itself to actually work?
All right. Now, what I have against this deal is, like I keep saying, it kind of straitjackets the development that we've been having in the power sector in the last 10 years. And it's not giving credence to the amount of work that has gone in. I'm going to tell you this. Before the mid of next year, by the time all the projects that TCN, the present management of TCN, by the time all the projects that they are doing comes on stream, we are going to have a willing capacity going as high as almost maybe 20,000 megawatts, So, and we also have, of course, I'm sure we've also been hearing about having installed capacity about 14,000, 15,000 megawatts for generation. So if you have 14,000 megawatt generation that we can call on immediately, and transmission goes as high as 20,000 megawatts, by the time the project that they're doing, it comes on stream. What we are going to now have, and which is what I really love, is that we're not going to have a futuristic, gap in transmission. So whatever we do, in generation, then we can start ramping up our generation. I think that's what federal government should be focusing on. Okay. On the issue of the distribution end, we need policies. One of the easiest and the lowest hanging fruits that we have on ground is metering. Because even if you spend all this money and we're not able to meter, we're not able to measure the throughput from generation to transmission to discos, then to consumer end, and consumers are able to pay for what they consume without any argument, without any issue. Because that's another major thing that draws back, confidence in payment. That's why we have so many deficits in collection.
All right.
We will continue to have the problem. So we need to focus on the lowest hanging fruit at the moment, which is metering. The federal government started with the NMMP, that's the National Mass Metering Program. Unfortunately, we have not been able to hit the mark that we are supposed to hit. They promised 1 million phase 0, 4 million for phase 1, then further 1.2 million for phase 2.
All right, well, thank you so much, Adetayo, for joining me on the news this morning to discuss this. Sadly, I would have to move on, but still, thank you so much.